Hey everyone, I just kind of wanted to get straight into it without much fluff around the introduction. Some basic things. My name is Connor Mail. I'm going to be hosting this podcast. I am a staunch Democrat. I am a social Democrat, so I believe in programs such as Medicare for all, free college. I believe in universal basic income. I'm open to a federal jobs guarantee and a $15 minimum wage, depending on if Bernie or Yang get the nomination. But I wanted to start off with an article by Forbes that kind of just encompasses why I believe what I believe. So this short little segment is going to serve as an introduction to why I believe what I believe. I am a staunch follower of Yang, so I believe in universal basic income because of automation taking jobs. So Forbes released an article that says over 2% of Americans, that's 7 million people, lost their jobs in massive layoffs between 2004 to 2009. Workers without a college degree are particularly at risk. As production met automation and moved overseas, the broader citizenry enjoyed cheaper products while large sectors of the workforce were left with a loss of livelihood. Harvard Fellow in Technology and Public Purpose Susan Winterberg shared that layoff workers typically see a permanent 17 to 30% reduction in wages when they return to the workforce. If they didn't re-enter the job market within 2 months, resume callbacks drop dramatically and many are left with no choice but to join the gig economy as contractors without benefits. They are predisposed to suffering from a menagerie, I think that's how you pronounce it, of woes, from depression to marital problems. Their children are even 15% more likely to repeat a grade in school. Now, I know that's a lot to take in a relatively short time, but let's break this down. 7 million people have lost their jobs between 2004 to 2009. A 5-year period, 7 million people. If that doesn't astonish you, that's 7 million people not bringing in incomes, not being able to contribute to the economy with their spending money. 70% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. And if this doesn't sadden you, that fact in itself, and that's not even the entire article, that in itself is just heart-wrenching. Moving on, and workers without a college degree are particularly at risk. Now, I don't blame workers who don't go to college. College can bury you hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, depending on what field you want to go into. It's just, you got to understand that there's this stigma that you now have to go to college and you have to bury yourself in debt to make money. If you go into a job such as radiology, some form of nursing, lawyers, any of those sort of jobs, you're at risk of losing your job to automation. And you're thousands of dollars in debt, but you can't pay it back off because there is no job for you. And no one's talking about it. The only people who are talking about these serious problems is Andrew Yang and his campaign. Elizabeth Warren goes out there and says it's trade deals. And yeah, I'll admit, that's part of it. Trade deals such as NAFTA and TPP do contribute to just this horrible job loss and decline in the market. But we have to acknowledge that automation also plays a massive role. Automation plays a huge role. And then when it moves on in the article, they do mention afterwards as jobs moved overseas because of horrible trade deals such as NAFTA and TPP. And Susan Winterberg shared that laid-off workers typically see a permanent 17 to 30% reduction in wages. And now, if we're going to break down how much money people are making to begin with, that's already not enough to live. Anything below $15 an hour is not a living wage. If you want to go the route of raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, that's fine. That's your take on it. Personally, I believe in a universal basic income of the $1,000 a month, as proposed by Andrew Yang. Now, a 17 to 30% reduction into a group of citizens that already live paycheck to paycheck and are barely able to meet ends meet now have to take a third of their budget just cut out. It's just gone. And then we're supposed to turn around and tell these people to work and pull yourself up by their bootstraps. That's absurd. That is obscene. That is immoral. The market should work for us. We shouldn't work for the market. It is a brilliant thing that we can trade with countries and have diverse culture and investing and making money and being able to live happily and comfortably because of your financial status. But we got to acknowledge the current system we have, which is borderline oligarchy, serves select few and leaves too many people to suffer. The top, I believe it's the top 0.1 of 1%, so 1/10 of the American population owns more wealth than the bottom half. 3 families, the Kochs, the Bezos, all these people own an obscene amount of money. Bill Gates worth $106 billion. $106 billion. You can't spend that much in your lifetime. And Bernie Sanders made a tweet that even if we did tax him $100 billion, he'd still have $6 billion left over. Still too much to spend in a lifetime. Now, I can't remember the exact article, but these economists came out and made a thing that said, I believe it was 40%, it was 40 or 60, I can't remember, but 40 or 60% of the wealth in this nation is inherited. And for conservatives that go out there and say that you have to work and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you have to, what you produce is what you earn, it's what you deserve, you made it, you can have it. That's a meritocracy. We don't live in a meritocracy. These people have to open their eyes that majority of these people who are obscenely wealthy inherited wealth. They didn't innovate. They didn't create. They didn't drive the market. They cheated the system. They slipped through our fingers. And we aren't doing anything about it. We have a lunatic in the White House who's giving them tax breaks. Like I said, let's use Bill Gates, for example. That man is worth $106 billion. Do you really think he deserves a tax break? Oh, is he paying too much? Well, there are people who are out there who are starving, teachers who have to use their own salary to buy equipment for kids in teaching. But he's paying too much? Do you truly believe this? Has this Fox News conservative propaganda seeped too deep into our conversation? The Overton window assumes that these ideas are too crazy, that billionaires exist for a reason, that it's the way it is, so it's the way it should be. Fundamental change is possible. We just have to work for it. We have to elect leaders who genuinely believe in it. And now, I may not agree with a lot of things that some people on the far left, along with me, agree with. For example, I don't particularly agree with Elizabeth Warren on the way she wants to pay for Medicare for all. That's a whole nother segment. Anyway, but you have to admit, she wants fundamental change. She wants the system to work for the people, not the people to work for the system. Currently, every single day, these people, these laborers, get up and are serving this number that we assign to them. The GDP, the economic growth. Here's a crazy idea. How about we measure our economy on quality of life? How about we measure it on lack of overdoses and other things that ensure quality of life, like the prices of housing, annual income. I know, it sounds like a crazy idea, right? That you just have your imports and exports and woohoo, that's that, and how businesses are doing. Businesses shouldn't control who we are. We should, yes, work. Yes, people have to work. But I think there's this misconception that people don't want to work. Work fills meaning for some people. And this inherent assumption that everyone's lazy, that only the strongest survive. There are some people I know. I work at a Panera, and I make $9.25 an hour, which for me, as someone who's relatively young, that's fine. It's discretionary spending. But for the people there who are going through college, the people there who are going to use this to pay their bills, that's not enough. They have kids they have to feed. They have things they have to do. They have to pay for gas. They have to pay their bills. They have to pay the utility bill. They have to buy groceries so they can eat. They have to pay the water bill so they can drink and bathe themselves. And they're not getting enough money to do that. But instead, we assume that they're lazy because they don't have a fantastic job. But these people are some of the hardest working people that I know. These people are working their asses off every single day to make enough money. But yet again, as I said, 40 or 60% of the wealth in this country is inherited. So people who didn't work, people who didn't innovate, people who didn't create companies, didn't progress the market, are getting the spoils. At this point, if you don't see that the Republican Party has lied to you, they're not for the working people. They're against you. They're not for the common farmer in some Sunbelt state or some breadbasket state. They lied to you. All they care about at the end of the day is making as much money as they can through tax reform and loopholes in the system they can cheat because they are selfish and they are greedy, and it is time for that to change. But then there are people who have common sense, people who have empathy that we need to vote into office to change our current system. Anyway, I just wanted this to be a little introduction to who I am and what I believe. I believe that little rant was enough to give you a sense of what I'm like. There should be more episodes coming soon. My name is Connor Mail, and this has been my podcast, and I'll see you guys next time.